Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome into the NFL Opening Line Report, Week 18. I am Drew Martin, joined by Teddy Covers. We're getting you on the right side of some of these line moves. Teddy, happy Monday morning to you, buddy. Welcome on in.
Yeah, happy 2023 to everyone out there. I really appreciate all you guys who are watching live. Really appreciate all you guys who are watching on the replay. And obviously, we started the season, we started doing these at the beginning of August. For the beginning of the preseason, and we'll run all the way through the end of the NFL playoffs as well with the Opening Line Report. And we'll have a couple of shows throughout the course of the spring and summer months as well. But I'm doing pretty good, Drew. I had a winning day yesterday, which is very nice. It's about time I came on the show and was able to say I had a winning day yesterday. And we'll see if we keep it rolling into Week 18. And last week, I gave two emergency betting alerts. They were both wrong in terms of what direction the line was definitely going to go in, which is not what I like to do. One of them wasn't my fault. The Raiders bench car and put in Stidham, and the game ended up flying over the total anyway. The good news is that both the emergency betting alerts we talked about last week, even though the moves themselves were wrong, if you got on those sides, they ended up being right sides. But for Week 18, given the nuances of this particular week in the betting markets, where we're going to see a lot of lines move based on what coaches are doing, it's like a preseason week. The lines are going to move based on what the coaches are going to tell us they're going to do for many of these games. I don't know we're going to have a ton of emergency betting alerts this morning.
It almost makes it like a really important show, though, Teddy. Just kind of getting ready for this week in the line moves. So, hey, I think the listeners will forgive you. You know, it's always nice to get the closing line value, but at the same time, it's a little bit sweeter to get the winners. So, even though they moved against us, I think we're all right.
It's not
there,
close.
Teddy.
If I have a choice between getting closing line value or getting a winner, I'll take the winner any day of the week.
Every single time. Absolutely, Teddy. Monday nighter here. Of course, we go live here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, guys. 10 a.m. Pacific time each and every Monday. Monday, January 2nd, Buffalo and Cincinnati. Teddy, good matchup for Monday Night Football. Before we get into Opening Line Report, -2, -2.5. That's the Bills as the road favorite. 50.5 being the total. Anything quickly on the Monday nighter?
Yeah, the money's coming for Buffalo right now. I don't know if it's going to get to 3. I'm not seeing signs that it's going to get to 3, but it's clear that the money is coming on the Bills this morning. The money's also coming on the over this morning. And I know I'm saying mornings that many of you watching back east. I'm in Vegas, man. It's 10 o'clock in the morning here. So this morning, we're seeing money for Buffalo and money for the over, which tells us that if you like the Bills, find a -2 now. They may not be there. There are not many left. If you like an over, 50.5, really the lowest total I'm seeing right now on the WagerTalk Live odds screen. So that's where the money's moving. If you like those sides, you're not getting the best of it. If you like Cincy and or under, no urgency to get to the window right now. You may see a 3 with the Bengals. You could see 51s or higher before kickoff.
Opening Line Report starting right now. We get actually scheduling note here, guys. No Thursday nighter, no Monday nighter, all Sunday games. So we are stacked here, going straight down. And the first game is flexed out to the Sunday Night Football game here, Teddy. Before we get into it, anything to note?
I was going to say, we don't even have times for most of these games yet. All we have so far is we've got KC and the Raiders. I don't even know if that's right, but I know the Titans and the Jags are the one game that is going to be on Sunday night. Everything else with the lines have, I don't know. I don't have the times for them yet. Do you, Drew? Are you seeing them anywhere?
No, I actually didn't even notice that. What the heck's the NFL doing here?
They're waiting until after the game tonight, because what they do is they put all the games that have playoff implications together. So one team can't sit starters based on what happened to the other. So we'll see the early games will have whatever and the late games will have whatever, but they'll put out the timing after tonight's game, I believe.
Interesting. Okay.
What game's going to be played when.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing as well. And actually, I don't even know if this is correct. I'm going to ESPN right now, and I'm seeing Kansas City, Las Vegas, and Tennessee, Jacksonville on Saturday, January 7th. So I'm not 100% sure here, guys, what days this is going to be, but I'm pretty sure ESPN's got it wrong. Let's
Yes.
I don't know.
That's my take. But I'm anticipating all these games are going to be played next Sunday. There's 16 of them. The Sunday night game is already flexed in. It's the Titans and the Jags. That's, winning you're in playoff game, and that's what they want for the Sunday night game. But everything else will be played earlier in the day on Sunday. Don't know yet quite what game's going to be played when. I don't think it matters all that much when it comes to the opening line report as to what time these games are going to be played.
Let's get into it. 457-458. Tennessee and Jacksonville flexed out here. 38.5 being the total, Teddy. -6 in the hook. That's the Jags at home in North Florida. What are we thinking? Titans and Jaguars.
All right. So you and I are on the same page because I'm going in rotation order. The first game is Rams and Seahawks in rotation order. Is that the way you're looking? Because that's the way all my notes are set up.
Okay, well, let's go in that order. Yes, I was going at the top of the odds board here, but you're right. In rotation order, it's not exactly correct. So let's go that way. 451, 452. Sorry about that, guys. LA Rams, Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks -6 in the hook. 41.5 being the total. We get NFC West battle here in the Pacific Northwest, Eddie.
So a couple things, and I apologize for making you start over again. I've got all my notes in order based on rotation, and if you have me flipping up and down, looking through 32 teams, it's going to be a mess of a show. So all the notes are in rotation order. It's definitely worth noting, as much as any week, more than any week of the season, the look-ahead lines are going to be real different on some of these games from the actual opening numbers and my powering numbers. For example, Seahawks Rams. Look-ahead line 3 for Seattle, 42.5. After the results of yesterday's games, my powering number came 6.5 for Seattle. And the markets opened at 6.5 last night and have stayed that number this morning, 41.5, the prevailing total. Look, Seahawks are coming off their best game in 2 months. It wasn't close. They have not played well. Their defense played great yesterday. Geno Smith had the best game that he's had in, I would say, months. They look like a team that they looked like back in October when they were winning games and covering point spreads and, wire-to-wire victory against the Jets yesterday. Kenneth Walker healthy again. Certainly a defense that had 4 sacks and 2 interceptions. I can understand why the money from the look ahead to the current number has come for Seattle, especially given the situation with LA. I mean, LA, they are what they are right now. Sean McVay's quote, there was a very small margin for error. And then when it ended up getting out of hand, it got out of hand for us in the loss to the Rams. They didn't have a sack. They only had 2 quarterback hits on Herbert. The pass rush isn't there. Basically, the offense right now is Cam Akers. And Akers has been great at 123 yards, back-to-back 100-yard games for the first 100-yard rushing games for the first time in his career. But I would not anticipate the Rams being a popular choice for this one amongst bettors, especially given that Seattle's coming off their best game in the better part of the last 2 months. If you like the Seahawks, 6.5 now, I don't see it going down. May not go up. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of money coming for the Rams.
All right, good start here, Teddy. And Teddy, I do have something to report. It looks like not only the ESPN scheduling, but I went to CBS, and the NFL Week 18 flex scheduling changes. They are moving the Chiefs and Raiders to 4:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, and the Titans and Jaguars to 8:15 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night. So for the second straight year, the NFL doing 2 Saturday games, a doubleheader in Week 18. That's according to CBS here, Teddy. So we'll keep going down in rotation order, but yeah, man, just wanted to clear that up at the top.
So again, there's multiple line services, and I'm the one that I pay for isn't showing me any games on Saturday. So yeah, if it does, now that's on them,
Yeah.
If it's real and I'll be unhappy about it, but I'm not showing it. I'm showing everything.
Okay, we got 453, 454 up next. New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles near 2 touchdown favorites. -13.5 point home faves. 42.5, 42 being the total. NFC East battle here, Giants and Eagles, Teddy.
So look at the look-ahead line here. Look-ahead line, Philly -1.5 at the open. You got bet up to -3. Total of 40.5. My powering numbers, and let me make it very clear, my powering numbers are the strict powering numbers for these two teams healthy. They do not include sitting starters like we're going to talk about in this game. My powering number for the game is Eagles -9.5. And what did we see? 13.5 last night. Philly's going to have to do it the hard way. They could have clinched the number 1 overall seed each of the last 2 weeks and weren't able to do it. Jalen Hurts is expected to be available for this game after missing the last 2 weeks. And then he gained 5.9 yards per play, solid, only 11 first downs for Gardner Minshew. But, Philly's now lost back-to-back games. Nick Sirianni. I'm not anyone that's ever going to hit a panic button. But if Jalen Hurts is able to go, he'll go. Devonta Smith after yesterday's loss. We just played terrible. That's that. And look, there was positive signs even the loss. That defense sacked Andy Dalton 7 times. That's 5 straight games with 6 or more sacks for Philly defense, the longest streak by any team in the Super Bowl era. They now have 4 different defenders with double-digit sacks, which has never been done as well. So Philly, even with their offensive struggles, they will have Minshew here. They should. They're supposed to have Hurts here, and they have obviously trying to clinch the number 1 seed, something to play for. If they win this week, they don't have to play next week. For the Giants, it's a very different story after the win. The win clinched. Listen to these quotes. Saquon Barkley. It's a beautiful thing, and I'll be honest, nobody outside the men and women in this facility gave us a chance. Dexter Lawrence, the defensive tackle, quote, loud, dancing, laughing, so many emotions. It's all these signs of excitement. We worked hard starting in the spring with these guys, and it's all playing out. So, do the Giants come with their A game here? The Giants rest starters. Again, they locked into the 6th seed. They're not going anywhere. Right? A win here does nothing for them. The markets are saying don't expect Brian. Dable played starters in the preseason in times that people didn't think he would. In this instance, the markets are expecting the Giants to sit, maybe not everybody, but pretty close. And Philly's got ample reason to must win. So I don't see Giants money coming, not anytime soon.
From the NFC to the AFC East here, 455, 456. New York Jets, Miami Dolphins, 39.5 being the total. -2, -2.5. That's the Dolphins at home. What are we thinking in Miami Gardens here, Teddy?
Look ahead line here. The Jets -1, total of 42. My powering number has Miami -5 in this ballgame. Opened last night with the Dolphins 3.5. Got bet through the 3 and down to 2.5 this morning. Total was 41.5 last night. Has been bet down significantly already. So there's been a lot of Jets money and a lot of under money so far for this one. Now, the Jets eliminated from postseason contention with the loss yesterday. Now they have the longest playoff drought in the NFL at 12 years. Mike White returned from injury and looked as lost as Zach Wilson's been looking. He was rough yesterday. They ran the ball 17 times the entire game against the NFL's 31-ranked run defense. Their own defense didn't show up. White had a terrible game. This is an offense that's averaged, 12 points per game during their 5-game losing streak right now. Not a Jets team that we're seeing a whole lot of. And every quote after the game is this season's over. Robert Saleh. No one's hurting more than the people in this locker room, especially me. I know it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. There's still a lot of really cool things to look at from this season, but right now it stings. Of course, not like Miami's playing good. They've lost 5 in a row, and they might be down to their 3rd-string quarterback this week in Skylar Thompson. Teddy Bridgewater came in for the 2nd time this year and couldn't last a game. Mike McDaniel, quote, we still have games to play. We have one in particular against the New York Jets that we have to respond to. Backs are against the wall. Skylar Thompson, what this week comes down to is fighting. We got to find a way to get into the dance. Money's pouring in on the Jets. Every quote about the Jets is let's talk about next year. Every quote about the Dolphins is we got to win this game. I'm a little bit surprised to see the market support for New York in this one. My money will not be on the underdog in this game.
Teddy, next game up, 457, 458, Tennessee and Jacksonville, 38.5, -6.5. That's the Jags at home in North Florida. Again, this was the game that got flexed out. What are we thinking here, Titans and Jaguars?
Yeah, again, the first three games, the look ahead was 3, and then my opened 6.5, and the look ahead was Philly 1.5 and opens 13.5, and the Jets opened the favorite, and Miami and the look ahead, and then Miami's the favorite by more than a field goal at the opener. This is one where the look ahead and the opener are fairly calm. Look ahead, Jacksonville 6, 39.5. My powering number, Jags 5.5. The markets opened 6.5 on Jacksonville, and they've stayed there. Total 38.5, 39 in early betting action. Now, look, the Titans have lost 7 in a row. All right, they're down to their third-string quarterback in Josh Dobbs, but Dobbs at least showed signs last time. I was only with the Titans for 8 days, and he had more passing yards by halftime than Malik Willis had in any of his first 3 starts with Tennessee. This is a team that has 22 players on injured reserve. They lead the NFL. They used 83 different players in ball games this year. But last week's game was meaningless. They scratched everybody. Lots of guys will be coming back and be relatively healthy for the Titans this week if they can snap that skid. And obviously they're playing to win the division, even with this awful losing streak. A win here, and they're in. Jags took care of business in Houston. Trevor Lawrence, a big win for us. A lot of distractions around this week and knowing what's in store for us next week. I thought we handled our business today. It helped to play a team like the Texans in that regard. And, of course, Trevor Lawrence is stepping up right now. The running game's been real good. Travis Etienne with a big day yesterday. Defensively, Jacksonville, there was talent there. Now their talent starting to live up to expectations. It's 9 turnovers forced in the last 4 games. They forced 4 against the Titans in that first meeting between these two. They scored a touchdown on interception return to beat Dallas. They had a fumble recovery touchdown against the Texans yesterday. The defense that's starting to make plays. The public's going to be on the Jags in this game, obviously. I'm not convinced the wise guys are going to be there, which is why there's no emergency betting alert here. I don't know. This game's going up to 7. And remember, Tennessee's on a losing streak. The pressure here is on Jacksonville much more than the Tennessee Titans. We'll see how they live up to that pressure, and a must-win game for the Jaguars on national TV.
NFC North battle here. Detroit and Green Bay up next. 459-460 if you're following along at home. Going down in rotation order using the WagerTalk Live odds screen. 48.5 being the total. Bought up from 47. So a little over money, Teddy. We get -4.5. That's the Green Bay Packers is the home favorite in Lambeau Field.
Yeah, look-ahead line was Packers -3.5. And the early money came on Detroit. Pushed it down to -3. As you mentioned, the total was 47. My powering number came right there in that 3.5 range. I'll call it 3.25, either 3 -20 or 3.5 even money, however you want to price it. Opened 4.5 and 48.5, and that's pretty much where we're sitting right now. Lions have a chance to get their first playoff appearance since 2016. Look, they beat Chicago yesterday. Chicago was a no-show in that game, and it was a pretty easy winner for my clients and I in that contest. Their eighth 30-point game this season. That's the most in franchise history. Obviously, this offense is clicking right now. And a team that can play their way in. Now, they need 2 things to go right for them to get to the postseason. They got to win this game, and then I think Seattle has to lose as well for Detroit to get there. But they'll go into the game live to make the postseason, and all the quotes, from the Detroit locker room. We're talking about that. I got a long quote from Aaron Rodgers I want to read because to me it's really an interest. It's one of those that I read it and then I reread it and I'm like, I got to put this whole quote on air tomorrow because to me let me read it first. Rodgers quote, I still believe in myself and I feel like it just takes one sometimes. It's strange, but when we were sitting at 3-6 and looked at the next 3 at the time, Tennessee was playing really well. Obviously the Cowboys were playing well and Philly was number 1 in the league. I just felt like if we got one of those, we can win the last 5, and 9-8 was going to get in. I didn't really go around saying that because you don't really want to say, hey, if we just get one of these 3, maybe we make the playoffs. But in my head, that's what I was thinking. That's kind of disrespectful to Detroit, isn't it? Oh,
yeah, a little bit.
We can beat these guys. Ain't no big deal. Lions beat them in the first meeting between these 2 teams. And, of course, look, the Packers defense played great. They had 4 takeaways against Kirk Cousins yesterday. All the talk is about Jair Alexander and what he did against Justin Jefferson, I should say. But let's not forget that Minnesota was without their offensive line in that ballgame, which negated Cousins' ability to throw the football downfield which made Alexander look great. And these quotes to me are reeking of overconfidence against Detroit. Everyone, Tom Brady got in, Aaron Rodgers going to get in, maybe. I'm not convinced it comes easy for the Packers against the Lions team playing with a whole lot of confidence and putting up points in bunches.
AFC North battle up next, 461-462, Cleveland and Pittsburgh. We are seeing 39 as the total, -3. That's Pittsburgh is the home favorite. So we get Browns at the Steelers. Steelers, -3 home favorites in the Steel City here, Teddy.
Look-ahead line was Pittsburgh -1. That got bet all the way up to 2 and then 2.5. There were multiple bets on Pittsburgh on the look-ahead line. The total was 42. My powering number came Pittsburgh 1. Not easy for me to lay points with the Steelers, but yet here we are. As Tomlin has another chance to make the playoffs and another chance to have a winning season. Of course, Tomlin's never had a losing season as the Steelers head coach. They cashed their over win total with the win last night. We're looking at, 3s and 38.5s right now. There are some 39s out there. There are a couple of 2.5s out there. Deshaun Watson had his best game with the Browns yesterday. And his best game with the Browns was 23 passing yards at halftime, 9 of 18 for the game. He took 5 sacks, but he did throw 3 touchdown passes in the second half against a team with cluster injuries in their secondary. And Watson, after the game, that was definitely potential of what the future can hold. Yeah, I mean, there's potential for Cleveland. The Steelers are just gritty. They're finding ways to win. They don't win easy. They don't win by margin. You can anticipate this game being decided by a field goal for someone, which makes it 2.5 valuable, perhaps. If you want Pittsburgh right now, there are a couple of 2.5s out there. But, the Steelers have been playing these close under games all season long. And Cleveland coming off a win, a satisfying win, might not be the optimal spot to look at the Browns. Again, but my powering number here comes lower than the market. So on the Pittsburgh side, is there really value there? Not necessarily.
Huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining us live. Gabriel in the house saying, catching you live for the last show. Well, actually, Gabriel, thanks for catching us live. But it won't be the last show. We're going through the playoffs here all the way through the Super Bowl. We'll also have some off-season opening line reports as well. So stay tuned on the WagerTalk YouTube channel each and every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. We got Mike Campbell in the house saying, am I trying to outdo you, Teddy, with the jacket? Yes, I am. I'm actually 5-0 since wearing the jacket on last show. So I'm not taking it off here, guys, for quite some time. I'm trying to do my best. 5-0 in the NFL, I must clarify. But trying to do my best Teddy Covers impression here. We got Kevin Johnson saying, the Jets missing the playoffs, a tradition unlike any other. That was a good stat there, Teddy. Jets 12-year playoff drought, longest in the NFL. That's crazy, man. I do want to ask you, though, because I remember you saying earlier in the season they're a talented team, talent-wise, top to bottom of the roster. Do you think next year they'll actually be a good bet-on team?
Yes, if they find a quarterback. Yeah. And it's there's going to be a lot of quarterback carousel this offseason, okay? The Jets were a quarterback away this year from being good. Now we'll have to see how the roster gets composed, what happens in the offseason, yada, yada. But they were a quarterback away this year. We'll see. I mean, I'm not a running back guy. Breece Hall was a difference maker for them early on. He'll be back too next year.
Good stuff. Huge shout out to Denise as well. Devin, all you guys, thanks for joining us live here as we're making our way down the list here, guys, going down in rotation order. NFL opening line report, 463-464 up next. Houston and Indianapolis. We got 38 as the total. Teddy, this one screen going black as we're speaking here. -2.5 or -3. That's the Colts as the home favorite.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see. There was an injury note there as well. Look headline here, Indy -2.5. The total 39, bet down to 38.5 on the look ahead. My powering number is Colts 3 at even money, which isn't very exciting. And the markets, as you mentioned, there were 3 earlier this morning. Now we're seeing mostly 2.5s. 38.5. Here's a total. This is a really interesting game. For the crappiest game on the board, this is a fascinating handicap because it's a big negative for either of these two teams to win. All right, Houston's playing for the number 1 overall draft choice. They got no business winning any more games. All right, especially if they have a half-game lead over Chicago. And in theory, Chicago for the number 1 pick, and in theory, Chicago's going to show up this week. Houston can't afford wins. Indy's right there with them. And the Colts they've been outscored 151-68 their last 4 games. Right, the average losing margin of close to 3 touchdowns per game. Right, Jeff Saturday's quote is just shocking. Indy quit against the Giants. All right, the Giants hadn't broken 30 points in 2 years, and the Colts gave up 38 points to them and gave up 200 plus rushing yards in that game. And again, it's the 3rd time this year they've given up 200 on the ground. The comeback that Minnesota had against Indy, it hasn't ended. There's no bouncing back for the Colts after that. And then you have this beautiful Jeff Saturday quote. We still got 1 more week, and I've got to keep these guys playing good football for the last week. And we try to get a win and finish out the season off in the right way. They've been outscored by 3 touchdowns a game for the last month. They're not playing good football. You got to keep these guys playing good football. Good luck. That quote cracked me up. That being said, Lovie Smith. And Smith was unhappy with the performance yesterday. It was a complete no-show. When you play like that, it's not going to happen. We're not going to win. There's nothing else really to say on that. But Houston is what they are. They're the worst team in the league. And they have the best odds to get the number 1 pick. If the Texans lose this game, if the Texans win and the Bears lose, they flip spots. So in terms of from an organizational standpoint, Houston doesn't want this win. And I'm not sure if Lovie Smith, who I don't know if he's hanging on for his job or not. I'm assuming Lovie Smith's realized that, but maybe not.
465-466 up next. AFC West battle here. Kansas City and Las Vegas flexed out to the afternoon game on Saturday. -9.5. That's the Chiefs as the road favorite here, Teddy. 51.5 being the total. Not far from where you're talking right now.
Yeah. Chiefs on the look headline, they opened 8.5 and were bet up to 10.5 after Carr got benched and Stidham got put in. And the total got bet down, all knee-jerk stuff. They're benching their quarterback. We're going to bet the team. We're going to bet against that team and bet the under. So the look ahead went up from 8.5 to 10.5. The total went from 50 to 48. My powering number is 7.5 for this ball game, which is relatively low. Obviously, I didn't downgrade the Raiders with Carr versus Stidham. They were better with Stidham. Stidham knows the offense. All right, they moved the ball up and down the field yesterday. It's not a downgrade, not even a little bit. But the markets seem to think that it definitely is. And of course, we've talked a little bit about the Bengals and their 20-3 point spread run over the last 2 years, heading into Monday night. Since KC's the opposite of that, they're dead last in the NFL. All right, against the spread this year, they covered 4-point spreads all season. Now they are coming off a crappy game, a particularly crappy. Mahomes. That's not a lot satisfying for me against Denver. When I don't have my best up and guys step up and we still win football games, that's a good thing. When you win and you don't play like you play your best ball, that's a really good thing. We have to find a way to, for 4 quarters, play our best football when we get to the playoffs, and I feel like we haven't done that. KC, it feels like there's a little bit of urgency for this week. We don't often see from KC the final week of the season. Perhaps that's why we're seeing as much Chiefs money as we have off the opener in this one, even though the Raiders, like I said, I did not downgrade them off a change at quarterback position. Jarrett Stidham's been in Josh McDaniels' offense since he arrived in the NFL. Of course, the Raiders did just become the first team in the history of the NFL to blow 5 double-digit leads in the second half in one season. You don't want this team laying points.
Nice stat there, Teddy. 467, 468. Next game up. Arizona and San Francisco. NFC West battle here, guys. 40 being the total. 2-touchdown favorite. That's the 49ers. -14. Actually, mostly -14 in the hook here, Teddy. Arizona, San Francisco.
Yeah, if we had done the show an hour ago, this might have been the emergency betting alert because there were 13s and 13.5s out there. They're all gone now. Look at line here was only 10.5. A total of 40. My powering number is 13. The market's open 13.5 and 40. And obviously, as you mentioned, now the 14s are mostly gone. It's 14.5 and 40 right now. And from all indications, I will give Arizona credit for fighting yesterday, and they did. But Arizona's a bottom feeder. Cliff Kingsbury certainly feels like it's going to be his last game. They're the 4th starting quarterback in 4 weeks with David Blau this last weekend. 6 straight losses, 8 losses in the last 9 ball game. And Blau's okay, quote, I'm the 4th quarterback in 4 weeks. I get it. It's not an ideal situation. It's not ideal for anyone. Coach Kingsbury does an unbelievable job of not flinching and helping me get up to speed, just be able to go out and operate. We came up short. We didn't see quit from Arizona yesterday. I don't know if we're going to see quit from them here. And we did see something from San Francisco that we hadn't seen before. That's Brock Purdy in a close game, making plays and leading a pair of fourth quarter drives to move past the Vikings, get the number 2 seed. This is a game where San Fran didn't play well on defense. They didn't tackle well. They didn't cover well. Vegas had a backup quarterback and made him pay with 500 yards and 34 points. And the offense was good enough to overcome that. The Niners looking, even with Mr. Irrelevant at quarterback, more and more like a Super Bowl team or a Super Bowl caliber team every week.
469-470 LA Chargers, Denver Broncos up next. We're seeing the Chargers, Teddy, minus 3-point road favorites. There's some juice on that number at a lot of shops, -3, -120. 40.5 being the total, heading to Mile High here. Chargers at Broncos.
Yeah, the look-ahead line here was Broncos -2.5, which is because the Chargers were expected to clinch. That got bet to pick them, and total of 37.5. My powering number is the Chargers -6. Again, these are not anything. I don't worry about resting starters. I just team A and team B when it comes to my powering numbers, and we adjust from there. The markets last night, 3.5, kind of a split line. We'll call it 3.25. Total of 40.5. And it's still sitting there today. Well, mostly 3s -20, 3 -15, 3 -20. Chargers are in. All right. So Herbert got pulled in yesterday's game with 12 minutes to play, and LA up by 3 touchdowns. The run defense did get gashed, but the Chargers are a dangerous team. There's hope for LA. Denver showed up yesterday under Jerry Rosburg, though. Quote, I saw players and coaches digging in to do all they could possibly do to win that game. That's all said. It wasn't good enough. And I'm heartbroken for these guys, so they deserve a win. The effort was there. The offense was there for Denver following the coaching change. It feels pretty meaningless for the Chargers. I do not anticipate we're going to see a whole bunch of LA money for this one, for the road finale at Denver.
NFC South battle up next. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Atlanta Falcons, 471-472. 40 being the total, 41. It's actually going black right now, getting bet as we're talking. And we are seeing the Falcons -3.5 point favorites, both sides and totals kind of getting smashed right now, Teddy. Seeing it as high as -5, -3.5, the Falcons at home.
Yeah, it's getting, as we speak, it's getting hit, which makes it difficult for Drew to give what the actual point for it is right now, because at one book it's at 3 and another book it's still showing 5.5. That being said, there's another one where the look-ahead lines and my powering numbers have nothing to do with what the game is lined at. The look-ahead line was Atlanta -1, total of 40. My powering number is Tampa -3. The markets opened -7.5/-8 last night, with Atlanta as the favorite, total of 39, and the money is pretty much poured in on Tampa this morning. For the Falcons, got the win, no cover against Arizona yesterday, but snapped a skid, went over their season win total as a result. Desmond Ridder, signs of progress. He's yet to throw a touchdown pass, but quote, here's Ritter's quote, we obviously know that we can't be in the playoffs this year, but one thing we talk about is we want to finish these last 2 games strong, finish it for something good for the future. And Arthur Smith, their head coach, has been very adamant about that. For Tampa, the post-game quotes were, we did it. And we're going to play in the wild card round, which means that next week we ain't showing up. Tom Brady's 14th consecutive postseason appearance. Mike Evans got off the schneid. They rallied back from a double-digit deficit in the second half. Tom Brady threw for 400 yards. Todd Bowles, quote, the playoffs start a clean slate for everybody. You got a 3-game elimination tournament. Doesn't matter where you are. At least we know we'll be in the games. You just have to cut down on the mistakes in order to win them. But from all indications, this is going to be a no-show game for Tampa. The only question, whether Atlanta's good enough to cover the number against a Bucs team that's likely to be sitting a whole lot of guys on Sunday.
Dallas Cowboys, Washington Commanders, the former football team here at home, but we are seeing the Cowboys -4 point road favorites. It is as low as -3.5 and as high as -4.5 consensus number here, Teddy. Cowboys -4-point road favorites, 41.5 being the total. Cowboys at Commanders.
Look at line is Washington -4.5. There were questions about Dak for the game, and Dallas was supposed to not be in contention to do anything this week. But they are. So my powering number came Dallas 8 for the game. I got Dallas way ahead of Washington. Last night, the markets opened 6-42. This morning, that's all the way down to 4-41.5. The money coming against the Cowboys. We don't know what the Cowboys are going to play for here. I do know that Ron Rivera made a wrong decision prior to yesterday's game. He wanted to get a spark, and obviously Taylor Heinicke's not the guy. We know that. But Carson Wentz isn't the guy either. And we know that. And Rivera somehow didn't know that. And Wentz did not have the locker room. Wentz came into the game and threw 3 interceptions. He didn't get over 100 yards passing until there was 5 minutes left. And then after the game, Rivera didn't seem to realize that they were going to be eliminated with a loss. Quote, we can be eliminated? If it happens, it'll be disappointing after they'd already been eliminated. Washington has key injuries in the secondary. The team's for sale. I don't know where Rivera's going to be back. I don't know the Wentz is going to be back. I don't like the Commanders to show in Week 18. This is not a game where I trust them. As for Dallas, I mean, they didn't get any style points in the win against Tennessee. Mike McCarthy. This is the game we needed to get, and we got it done. Whether we get any style points or not, that's okay. We're still at 12 wins. Prescott's throwing picks. That's a concern. He's tied for the league lead with interceptions, despite the fact that he missed 5 games with a broken thumb. And offensively, all of a sudden, you got injuries on the offensive line, multiple moving pieces there. 3 weeks in a row, Dallas has averaged less than 4 yards per carry. There are concerns for the Cowboys right now in that regard.
He's Teddy Covers. Check him out, WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Hot start to 2023, 4-1 out the gate. 75% in college bowls since Christmas, and those 5% big tickets, guys, look out for him. He's actually got one on the national championship. 50-24, 67%, 5% run. Also, looking for a basketball handicapper here, guys. Number 2 at WagerTalk, all basketball last calendar year in terms of units won. He's Teddy Covers, WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Moving down the list here, Teddy, 475, 476. Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints. We're seeing the Saints -4-point home favorites, 42 being the total in the Big Easy.
Look headline was New Orleans -3, a total of 39. So we have seen a pretty significant move off the total for this one. My powering number for New Orleans only comes 2.5. Last night, the markets opened 5, got bet down to 4 right away, but sitting 4 pretty clearly right now. The total in the 40 range for this one. And Carolina's defense has been great. They weren't great yesterday. The injury to J.C. Horn in the secondary was enormous. And Tom Brady threw for 400 yards against this defense for the first time all season. The quotes coming out of Carolina, remember, they were playing for a chance to win the division title. Now they're not. Not the Foreman. They're all past tense quote. We fought hard. Nobody gave up. Everyone knew what the task was. Unfortunately, that's part of the NFL. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Sam Darnold obviously we knew what we were playing for. We were right there. At the end, we just couldn't get it done. Those are past tense quotes. Those concern me for Week 18. Saints played great. They certainly had a great first half in Philly. And then Marshawn Lattimore might have played on the stretch to win them the game. They have a chance to close out the season with 4 straight wins, and the quotes coming out of that locker room are positive ones right now. I'm not surprised that New Orleans is more than a field goal in this one. I'm not convinced we're going to see Carolina's A game.
We get New England and Buffalo up next here, Teddy. 42.5 being the total, 7.5. That's the Bills as the home favorite. 477, 478. New England at Buffalo, 7.5-point Bills favorites.
Look ahead line, Bills -10, total of 43. My power rating number, Bills -10. And we're seeing 7.5 before the Monday night football game, 43 the total. And look, New England's defense was great yesterday. Of course, it helped that they faced a second and third string quarterback. It's one thing to do it against Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson. Josh Allen, a different animal than that duo. And New England, what do they have? Seven defensive touchdowns this year, which means they're live to fight another week. And the quotes were, "We're live. We got a chance." And if they win in Buffalo, they clinch. Of course, win and you're in scenario. We don't know yet what the Bills scenario is going to be after tonight's game. So this line could move significantly based on how Buffalo, if they need to win, they don't need to win. I haven't investigated all those situations for this contest, but there's a chance the Bills could be sitting guys. And then if one team is must win and another team isn't, the markets react accordingly. So even though my power number says 10, I understand why the markets are at 7 right now. And we'll see the scenarios unfold after tonight's ball game to get a better read on how much Buffalo really has to play for in Week 18. New England has everything to play for in Week 18, but it's not like Week 18. But it's not like they matched up real well with the Bills in most recent.
Next game up, we get Baltimore and Cincinnati, 479-480, 42.5 being the total, -7. That is the Bengals as the home favorite. In a unique situation, Teddy, it kind of rhymes with the Bills situation, almost one of those things. The line might change just off of the Monday night outcome. So sometimes we say, if you like the Monday night team, bet them 2 bets. It might be the same thing, or it might be exactly opposite in the Cincinnati, Baltimore, New England, Buffalo game. Anything on that, Teddy? Baltimore and Cincinnati, Bengals -7-point home favorites.
And I apologize for not knowing all the playoff scenarios. There's a million of them. And yeah. I don't know. This is one where I don't know what Cincy's got. But are these two teams going to end up playing for the division title next week anyway? I don't know. I don't think so. Let me check. The bottom line. Baltimore found a way to lose again last night. I don't know if are we going to see Lamar Jackson this week? I mean, I really don't know the scenarios for the Ravens in terms of this ball game. I'm just trying to pull something up real quick because usually I got all this stuff down. And this is one game where there are so many moving parts, and I didn't take any notes because one team played Sunday Night Football, the other team plays tonight. So I don't have all of that here. But the bottom line is I think they're going to be significant. Both teams have clinched the playoffs. If Cincy wins tonight, they're going to clinch the division. So I think that's how it plays out. So if Cincy doesn't win tonight, next week's game becomes more meaningful for what it's worth.
Teddy, next game up, we got it's the last game actually, Minnesota and Chicago. So NFC North battle here, 481, 482. -1.5. There is a -2 out there, but consensus number mostly -1.5 here. That's the Vikings as the favorite. 46.5 being the total. What are we thinking in Soldier Field?
Look ahead line 2.5. Minnesota's the road favorite. 45.5 the total. Powering numbers, and again, this is just Team A versus Team B. Not worried about resting starters or anything. My number shows Minnesota -6 on the road in Chicago. It opened 1.5 last night. And I was about, should I race to the window to bet the Vikings? Like, maybe you better tap the brakes for a minute, see what the scenarios are before you run out and make that wager. In theory, all right? Minnesota's coming off a bad loss, another bad loss. When they lose this year, they lose bad. Their offensive line is in shambles right now. They were going with a third-string center and a backup right tackle, and Kirk Cousins saying, I just didn't play well enough, just need to play better. There are certainly issues for Minnesota. I don't know how they're going to approach this final game. If they come to play, they're a lot better than Chicago. And Chicago, again, what we saw with the Bears, they lost by 31 points yesterday. They allowed 504 yards. Justin Fields completed 7 passes. He was sacked 7 times. They had multiple offensive line injuries. They didn't pull Fields late. They'll pull Fields late this time around. We saw Eberflus take some criticism for not pulling them late in the last meeting. So if they're blown out, if they're not in the game, I don't think we'll see Fields on the field in the fourth quarter in the cold like we have. But I need to get a sense that Minnesota's actually showing up this week. I'm not convinced that's the case. I think they're going to show up. If they do, the Vikings to me would be a very clear bet at -1.5. Maybe you bet the bet in now and find the info later. That's possible too. But again, my powering number came 6 on this one. If the Vikings show up, they're the better of these two teams by a pretty wide margin.
Teddy covers hot start to 2023, 80% 4-1 run, 75% college bowl games, number 2 in Wager Talk, all basketball the last calendar year, 5% plays, guys, 67% since May of last year. So check out those 5% tickets. He's got one up in the national championship game. Teddy, we have some people asking some questions in the chat box. Just NFL opening line report style for TCU in Georgia. Do you see this line moving one way or the other? I think it's 13.5 is what it opened at, the Georgia Bulldogs as the favorite. And of course, what a total in Southern California, I believe it is. That's where they're playing it in Los Angeles. Yes, in SoFi Stadium. We get 62.5 being the total. So Georgia minus 13.5, 62.5 being the total. Any opening line report kind of consensus here on the national championship game?
So this is going to be a pros versus Joes split for the national championship game. The books that cater to recreational bettors are going to take TCU money. TCU is the public side in this game. And the 13.5s will likely be 13s or 12.5s or 12, or who knows how much TCU money is going to come. The books that cater to the public will be taking TCU money. The pros are not taking TCU in this game. They're on the Georgia side. So the books that cater to the professional bettors are likely not to see a big line move off the open. From a total standpoint, 62.5, 63. Good question. I would anticipate modest over money. I don't know there's going to be enough to move the market. The public's going to be on TCU in the over. Both semifinals games went over. The public's going to like the over in this one. I'm not convinced the wise guys will necessarily. The question is, how's TCU going to fare against Georgia's defense? And the sharp money doesn't think that Mac Dugan's going to have the kind of game here that he had against Michigan. And they're telling us that with the number of where it is. So I'm not convinced. Over correlates with the public side, under correlates with the wise guy side. Modest.
Yeah. I agree with you, Teddy. I mean, that total after the 2 semifinal games going way over, I could see money coming in on this over of 62.5, but we shall see. Great opening line report, as always, from Teddy Covers. Guys, check him out, WagerTalkSportsMemo.com. Feel free to comment below in the reply section on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Please smash that like button if you're liking the content. Teddy, any final thoughts before we shut this down?
Enjoy the games. Good luck. We got plays up available. Check them out over at WagerTalk and or SportsMemo.com. And as you mentioned, Drew, closed out December all right, and opened the new year strong. So we'll see if we can keep rolling here for Week 18. Thank you so much for all your support, guys. Happy New Year. Enjoy the games and good luck all day.
Yeah, Happy New Year, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Cash those tickets. We'll talk next Monday.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. When all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.